tracks with some pollutants and killed all the fish. I was above that, and I'm running healing water programs on that when that was happening. There is so much that I have the evidence also that you speak of communication from the other side. I have in photographs just recently the orbs that I'm photographing. I'm taking pictures of them in the dark, and I'm photographing the energy. Just recently now the orbs are shooting beams of light into the grid. This happened last weekend. I'm also going to be doing another event called the Realmospheres coming up in Vancouver. You'll find me on Tribal Harmonics if you like to check this out. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, there you go. Lots of information there, David.
We just got downloaded.
Let's go to Randy in Dayton, Ohio. Go ahead, Randy.
Hi, George. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you.
Your guest, David. This is Moondog from Nighthawk Zone.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, you were talking about the harmonious of water. How water is an important part of our life. And we should be in harmony with water. Isn't our body like 70% water?
75%.
Okay. Also, I'm not going to stay on here long. I was a former truck driver, as you know. I had left some bottled water in the truck during the wintertime, and it froze, and I went back for vacation, and it thawed out. And the bottom of these unopened waters were white particles floating at the bottom. I mean, they wouldn't float to the top. They like settled down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Now, would that you think would be from the plastic, or God knows if someone took and put it underneath a tap? You know how they were saying that.
It's probably just some sediment that was, over time. It was in there for months, right?
Added minerals and things like that.
Yeah, all that.
Okay.
Maybe it could have even been salt that just accumulated. What do you think, David?
I think you're probably right, George. It could even be, calcium in the water. We have a lot of calcium in the water in Sedona, and it settles at the bottom sometimes.
Probably fluoride.
Yeah, it could be. Ooh.
Yeah, that's all we need. Jim in Allenton, Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Jim. First-time caller.
Well, first, I'd like to say I love your show. I've been listening for quite some time now.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Well, I'm a hunting enthusiast. I got a question for you, and then I got a sort of story going on with it. You were saying how our bodies are made up of water and everything.
Yes.
And, yes, we've been mentioning harmony with it and everything. So I've been wondering, do you think, like, being closer to certain different bodies of water in a way affects our emotions? Like, I've been out hunting before, and I know I get more antsy and everything when I come near fast-running water, and still water just seems to give me more patience than you can imagine. So what do you think, the movement of water has to do with our harmony?
That's a good question, David.
That's actually a great observation. When you come upon really still water, you feel very peaceful and very calm. And when you come upon agitated waters, it really activates you. Like when a surfer is inside a tube and the water's just crunching through it, they get really high. They get really energetic from all the negative ions actually coming off of the water. So yeah, I mean that's a good example. This man spent a lot of time in the wilderness like I have, and you definitely get a real feeling from the water. It's not just a visual.
There you go, Jim. Let's go to Jerry in Tempe, Arizona. Hey, Jerry.
How you doing, George?
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of had a flash when he was talking about the bacteria with the sunspots. It happens instantaneously. Now, wouldn't something happen just before an earthquake, and you could be able to use a water sensor to detect the agitation or the bacteria before the earthquake actually occurs?
That's a great question, because there's researchers who've developed sensors to precognitively detect earthquakes, and this is actually going on. It's being studied right now. It's actually in part 2 of Water, the Great Mystery, and you can actually see this being done. Sometimes researchers, just like Roger Nelson at the Global Consciousness Project at Princeton, they do their research for 20 years before they go public with it, so you don't always hear about this stuff. But yes, that type of a system is in development right now, and it is being tested. And from what I can see, the results are pretty positive that it can actually precognitively detect earthquakes and interface with advanced warning systems. You know, recently, George, I attended a Homeland Security meeting at the Bob Hope Airport in Burbank with Cohen, Undersecretary Cohen, and the meeting was to educate Hollywood producers and filmmakers about all of the breakthroughs in Homeland Security. And I was able to introduce a very profound physicist, Dr. Bogdan Magwitch, whom I mentioned tonight, to him. But I actually found him to be the most open-minded undersecretary on technology and ideas. And I introduced him to the concept of using some of these new sensors in consciousness. For example, Roger Nelson found that, 4 hours before the first plane strike on 9/11, the random event generators produced these huge non-random spikes.
Yeah, big spikes.
They didn't know what was going to happen, but they knew something was going to happen. And I mentioned to Cohen, what if we interface this with warning systems that at least put us on alert? Like, it doesn't say we know it's going to be an earthquake or it's going to be, something negative, but at least it can, the information tells us something is about to happen. We don't know what it is. And he was really open. I was really blown away. So there's a lot of applications to
huge.
These new super sensors.
Let's go to Spartanburg, South Carolina. William, you're on with David Sarita.
Hello, my name's William. I'm from Spartanburg, South Carolina. I wanted to ask your guest if he had tried any other types of music, such as music from different video games like Final Fantasy, or music from some of the Japanese animation, some of their opening and ending music, because it's really uplifting for me because I listen to the music a lot, and I wondered if he had tried any of that.
All right. Any variation there?
Well, I would say if the music is uplifting to you, then all the water in your body is getting uplifted because for you resonate with that music. So you can feel it. It's happening because you feel that way.
So it's just a basis of your own, I guess, wants and desires. If you like something, then it might work for you.
Yeah, some people they don't even want to be in a harmony. Now, if you want to experience disharmony, you will experience the result of disharmony. And it may not be pleasant, but that's what you seem to want to experience. If you listen to a harmonic music, and there's a lot of great, even modern music that has great harmony, then you're going to experience harmony. There are deeper and deeper and deeper levels of harmonics that I think most music cannot touch upon that exists in the cosmos. And, there is a deep truth to those who practice meditation and recite, holy mantras or holy words in various religions and what they experience in their mind. I've never listened, to answer the caller, I've listened to all types of music, and I'm not opposed to, even heavy metal music. I'm not, saying that it's evil or anything like that. It may not produce beautiful symmetrical architectures and frozen water crystals, but that doesn't mean that you don't feel a certain way when you expose yourself to it. However, the highest highs I've ever experienced myself are in classical music. So that's just me. I'm not saying, what's going to happen to everybody else, but, exposing myself to all different kinds of music. I've never been higher than listening to Goyer's Red Poppy, probably, in Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Do you know if Dr. Emoto is continuing his experiments and is he evolving?
I did. I introduced him also to the sound of the sun through his son Hiro and also the sounds of the planets. And they are also going to be testing this as well as the Russians. So the Russians were the first ones to do it. They were the most interested in it in the beginning, and now I found it really hard to get to Masaru Emoto. When I finally met him and I told his son about it, he was so excited about testing the sounds of the planets, and I just sent them off to them a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully they'll be testing it and getting more data on that. So yes, he's very active. But he did tell me one interesting thing. In his own country of Japan, he is not popular with the mainstream scientists of his country. Why not?
Is he a rebel?
Well, it's kind of like, you really have to read Gino Serge's book, Faust in Copenhagen, to see how all of the scientists that eventually got Nobel Prizes, from Einstein to Max Planck to Heisenberg and Bohr, all of them, they all fought with each other all the time. But because they fought with each other, they were more creative. They bounced ideas. They may have disagreed with each other, but that disagreement was like a